because of the fantastic acceleration that we're feeling here now, we can actually either cut journey time or squeeze a few more trains into the timetable. So it's transformed the customer experience on this route. Well, good morning, Jim. Welcome on board the 9:15 Glasgow Queen Street to Edinburgh. You'll be familiar with these trains because there are fantastic brand new electric trains which you've built and we introduce and now operate. And of course they were the most reliable new train in Britain.
Yeah, thanks Alex, it's fantastic to be back on these units after many years of operating in service in partnership with yourselves. What these trains deliver day in, day out for passengers is really significant, and you know what we're doing in terms of this being an electric fleet, very important. We've replaced diesel trains and we're delighted to see sort of tens of thousands of tonnes of CO2 being reduced because of these trains operating on a daily basis. So Alex, one of the things I'm really interested in and learning more about in terms of what's happening in Scotland is the strategy for electrification and how that might work moving forward into the future.
Well, as you know, here in Scotland we've electrified a lot of the central belt actually in recent years, which is why 75% of passenger journeys are already made on electric trains.
Yep.
We've got to decarbonise. We're never going to electrify it all, are we? Which is why battery and hydrogen have got a role to play, and that's why we're working hand in glove, ScotRail, Network Rail, Transport Scotland, and people such as yourselves to work out what's the best mix between electrification, discontinuous electrification, battery and hydrogen.
Are there difficult areas of the network in terms of tunnels, etc., and the benefit of that sort of blend of technologies that would add value to the network in the longer term?
Well, as you say, you know, actually putting the overhead line equipment up, that's the easy bit. The difficult bit is the civil engineering, you know, dropping the track, raising the bridges, etc. And so battery electric trains give us an opportunity to decarbonise before the date of full electrification by maybe doing more difficult bits or maybe more expensive bits a bit later, for example. We've got to electrify the Forth Bridge. That will be a complex project and we may be able to decarbonise before we electrify. And that's why battery electric hybrid trains could have a role in our decarbonisation plans.
So another question from me, Alex, in terms of sort of once you've electrified the railway, etc., but where does that power come from in terms of Scotland, and what's the strategy? Because having an electric fleet of trains is great, but it still needs powering. So where does that come from?
It is carbon zero electricity. It's from carbon zero sources. There is nuclear there in the mix, and we are exploring whether we can buy our electricity from suppliers from fully renewable sources, but electric trains are carbon zero in Britain.
That's really positive. Of course, these trains can regenerate from braking, which often the general public miss. That the actual electric trains can put energy back into the grid if we use it correctly. So how open is the Scottish network to sort of maximising that?
All our electric trains across the whole of ScotRail with our nice green leaf on the outside saying your ticket to net zero travel, because we've got to explain to people that by taking the train they're not just going from A to B, they are helping to save the planet. And if we've got clever technology like, you know, regenerative braking, we need to have a little poster inside the train saying, did you know that when this train brakes it puts energy back into the network?